If you were raised in Africa by African parents, then today's show, the topic of today's show, is something that you would be very, very familiar with. And I'm talking about how children are raised in Africa by their parents. For instance, the issue of how do you discipline your child. I understand that it is more of a serious note than what we usually dwell on the Afrobeat Cult, but it is something that I've been thinking about for quite a while because I have personally been involved in early childhood development for over 20 years right here in Finland, and I have seen the way the way the system operates to help develop the children. Now, what you should know is that Finland is one of the leading countries when it comes to how children are taught, how schools are run. Most African parents, well, the old school African parents still followed the British system or the old European format where they always told us that spare the rod and spoil the child. So does it still apply to you today? Does it, as a parent, if you're a parent now, is it something that you would engage in? Would you think that, the Western method of raising your child is too distant a culture, that you don't want to imbibe that if you let the child do whatever they want, then the devil will take over their whole being, and the best thing to do is when you need to discipline your child, you take the cane and you beat that child. And how does it work for you? This topic and much more is part of the things that we're going to be talking about on today's show, the Afrobeat Cult for today, and we will be right back. I personally have worked in early education for close to 20 years here in Finland, and I do have an understanding of you could say I have an understanding of both worlds. I grew up in Africa, and I had the traditional African parents who believe that if a child goes wrong, then you have to take the belt or you have to take the whip. I got a lot of, plenty of my share, and I'm sure a lot of you can respond to that in such a way that you did experience growing up in that way, that level of discipline. For those of you who currently live abroad and have your own children, what is it that you do when your child needs a bit of putting right or making them to fly right? Do you pull the cane out? You do know that sometimes you just cannot do or carry out the kind of punishment that you got growing up, because in the West it's a bit different. You have reports of children calling on the police to report their parents that, my daddy or mommy beat me, and maybe you handle the situation so wrong that you left bruises on your child, and they go to school and social welfare is called in to come and assess the situation, and families get into a lot of trouble because of that. And as mundane or as distant it might be, a discussion is something that a lot of parents, a lot of people don't want to talk about. It is an issue that we must discuss. It's something that we should be talking about, because it is very, very serious. Things are changing around the world, and sometimes parents go too far. But before we go any further, a big thank you to you for subscribing to this channel, the Afrobeat Cult, and do us a favor, hit that like button, hit the share button, subscribe, continue to subscribe. Those who have already subscribed, a big thank you to you for supporting this channel. And also a big thank you to you, Golden Gorilla. You can see from the top, a brand new top I just got. Thank you, Golden Gorilla, all the way from Oslo, for supporting this channel and throwing in a few garments here and there. I also have the hat, brand new hat, just got that. And let's continue. And as I said earlier, I do currently still work in early childhood education, and I have seen quite a lot. I've had to also been part of helping families and supporting families on the best practices on what and how to deal with children. I mean, children are children. They will get into trouble. They will piss their parents off. They will do all sorts of things that will make you angry. However, there are better ways to deal with it. Go ahead and put in the comment section. Tell me how you normally deal with situations like that. What is the thing that you have had to do, or things that you've had to avoid in ways that you can help your child develop better? And I could also give you some ideas on how to deal with the difficulties that we often have with young children. On my part, the big question for me is, should we continue to do the things that our parents did to us? Did it make us any better? Did it improve us as adults now? Did it make us more disciplined? What would be the difference if our parents didn't beat us, if they offered us a different way of discipline? Well, I do know that not only Africans are guilty of that kind of discipline. Even in the West too, a lot of parents do engage in such activities, such as beating their child or punishing them in, grabbing physically, dealing with situations like that where the child has done something wrong. Is that the best way to go about it, though? Do you spoil the child when you spare that stick or that belt? But at least a lot of the experts, the scientists, have considered the fact that beating your child does leave some level of trauma, some level of damage to the children who have to grow up in such a surrounding at home. The child probably needs some kind of therapy in most cases. Do children who have had to deal with such a situation, which a lot of people call child abuse anyway, so let's call it what it is. It is child abuse. You cannot, at least in my opinion, as like I said, like I have worked in this field for quite a while, and you learn the kind of things, what to do and what not to do when children err. You learn how to talk to them. Sometimes you have to accept the fact that children are also have their own way of thinking. You have to accept the fact that not all children will conform no matter how many rules you set for them. So there are different ways. So what you could do is consult experts and ask questions. There's so much information online nowadays that you could dig into and find ways to deal with it. Today's show is not to impose my own ideas, but to ask the question, what is the best way to go about it? Should we continue to met out the same kind of treatment that our parents from way back gave to us onto our children? What kind of children are we raising when we continue to do things like that? How does it affect them when they grow up? Do they start to fear the parents? Is it fear that you want to impose? Is it respect that you want to impose? What is it? What is the reason behind it? And how can we help and train parents to be better at dealing with children that give them a lot of trouble at home, for instance? This is the Afrobeat Cult, and we have started on a really, really serious note because it is something that is absolutely close to my heart. It's very dear to me, this issue of should we be meting out physical discipline as against, learning other ways, which a lot of Africans still consider as the Westerners' way of doing things, that if you're in Africa, we don't treat our children like this. You have to impose strict rules and strict restrictions and punish children for behaving badly. So basically what I'm asking is your opinion. What do you think? What are the better ways to deal with meting out discipline to your children? Do you think that if you beat them, raise the belt to them, they will change? Do you think that letting them know, negotiating with them, talking to them, sitting them down, treating them with some level of respect? We're not saying turn children into adults, but what I'm suggesting is there are other ways. For instance, you can call the child aside and talk to the child and say, hey, this is what I think. What do you think about what you have done? So many other ways to deal with it. So tell me what you think, and what is the best way, what is the most difficult situation that you have had to face with your child, and how have you dealt with it? And I can, link you up with so many ways, so many tips, so many things that you can do to help you sort out situations like that. Also, does the Western standard, does the Western way of dealing with things is it much better than the way it's done in Africa? Another key issue here, another thing that I often worry about is the way that, especially those parents that live outside Africa, I've actually seen situations where a lot of the parents now carry over the kind of treatment that they got as children onto their children here, and they often do get into a lot of trouble, especially with social services. So something to look out for. On that note, I'd like to say a big thank you for being a part of today's show. This is the Afrobeat Cult. I am Ehe Nakime. Remember to subscribe, hit that like button if you like the content that we have dished out for you today, and do comment. It is very, very important. I would like to know what you think about this issue. We're weighing the facts that do we beat the child or don't beat the child? Do we talk to the child, or what do you think? Let me know in the comment section and I will definitely respond to you. Until next time, bye-bye.